I want to show you guys a video, something that popped up on one of my media feeds. It's a video that's gone viral about the top 15 best global brands, ranked in terms of brand value, and it spans the last 19 years. In the early 2000s, most of the names that we expect to see on this chart are definitely there. Coca-Cola leads the pack, Microsoft, IBM, General Electric. But something happens in the last 10 years, around the 2008-2009 period until today. You start to see the meteoric rise of the tech companies. Common household names like Toyota, Gillette, Disney, all start to fall rapidly in the marketplace, and they're taken over by companies like Google and Apple. Not only taken over, but completely decimated by companies like Google and Apple. By the end of 2018, General Electric is not even on the list of the top 15 performers. So there you have the power rankings. Apple with a solid lead over Google, which in third place comes Amazon. Personally, I don't expect Amazon to be in third place for long, as they close in on Apple and Google, due very much in part to their ability to adapt to a changing marketplace, and not to mention the fact that they offer true self-service mobile solutions, and that they have recently hinted they're moving into the hospitality industry, which none of us really know what that means, but if Amazon touches it, they most likely will do well because they seem to have the Midas touch. But let's take a further look at what this graph represents to us. 4 out of the top 5 and 6 out of the top 10 companies on this list are pure tech companies. Apple is 3.25 times more valuable than the first non-tech company on this list. And this non-tech company is Coca-Cola, a company known in all socioeconomic circles on all 7 continents. For the past decade, we have been moving into the age of true mobility. Last year, 67% of all internet traffic was from a mobile device. Only 33% of internet traffic came from a desktop PC. This is a trend that the tech giants like Apple, who sit atop the list, understand very well. Apple knows that there are 2.3 billion active iPhones on the earth today. And we live in a strange time that is. As mobile developers, content developers, as app developers, software developers, we live during a time where we have about 60 seconds for you to determine if you like our applications. We've all done it. We go to the App Store, we go to the Google Play Store, we download an application or a game that looks cool or fun. It's done downloading, we're excited, we open it up, and this stinks. What comes next? We exit to the home screen, long press, icon starts shaking, delete. And that outcome is the culmination of millions of dollars in R&D, and not to mention the time and effort it took to develop. But that's not why I'm here. I'm not here to talk about the plight of software and app developers. I'm here to relate it back to aviation, into our market. So let me throw some real tech facts at you. You know there are 570 new websites launched globally every minute? Or that 8 billion devices will be connected to the internet by 2020? Oh, this one boggles my mind. You know that YouTube users upload 48 hours of new video content every minute of every day? In 2013, 5.5 years ago, Amazon had 1,000 robots working in its warehouses. 5 years later, they have 45,000. It's reported that 47% of today's jobs will disappear within the next 25 years, and robots will replace 5 million workers by 2020. So it's more than theoretically possible that in 25 years, you'll be paying your student loans you used to get an education, to get a job in a field which no longer exists. And one of the larger online classified and recruiting agencies has said that 5 of the top 10, quote, most desired jobs did not exist 10 years ago. Those job titles: data scientist, big data architect, transformation manager, iOS developer, and Android developer. We live in a data-driven and algorithmic economy. This period of time is often referred to as the age of big data. How big is big data? Well, 16 zettabytes, which is 16 times 10 to the 21st power. One zettabyte is 1 billion terabytes, or a trillion gigabytes, depending on your flavor. 16 zettabytes of unique data is created annually. And Moore's law tells us that the amount of data that can be stored doubles every 2 years. Let's put this into context. That means 90% of the world's data has been created in the past 2 years. Through thousands of years of recorded history, 90% of the world's data was created in the past 2 years. Now here's something that might make you feel a little uncomfortable. 60% of the world's data will be created and managed by businesses in the year 2025. Now, I'm not here to deliver a lecture on ethics or morality or even the best practices of collecting data, but I will put it into more perspective for you. The data managed by businesses and content providers and service providers now is the reason when I go to the gym, I get ads for the ice cream shop that's open across the street. Because my telephone and my content provider and my virtual assistant know more about me than sometimes I'd like them to. But again, this is not an indictment on business in any way, because this data powers algorithms. This data is used for life-critical applications. It's used in the rise of embedded systems and the Internet of Things. It's used in machine learning, and it offers us true mobile solutions. In fact, when you ask how important this data is, that by 2025, 6 years from now, 20% of the data in the world will be considered critical to our daily lives. So as I was preparing for this presentation, I ran across an article written by Mark Martin in Avionics International. It was written about a year ago. And in that article, he makes the quote that the aviation industry is at the forefront of technological innovation. And what do I say about that? Well, no. No, we are not. But Ryan, why do you say that? Why do you say that? Because aviation is slow to adapt to technology. Even understanding that we deal with safety of flight issues and we work in an industry that's often driven by certifications and approvals, as well as a teaspoon of bureaucracy for the good measure, we still adapt slower than most other markets. Let's take a look at this. Let's look around this room right now. This room is full. There are 500 plus aviation professionals in this room representing some of the largest companies in the world, flying some of the most advanced equipment this world has ever seen. And everyone in this room has found some cool new gadget or tech or some out-of-the-box innovative solution, and you've said, wow, that looks pretty cool, but let's just see how it does for a while before we adopt. In addition to that, there are some key drivers for slow adoption of digital technologies. For example, there's often fragmentation that occurs among the various operational functions, which shows a lack or a lack of singular focused ownership with the inability to define and implement cross-functional strategies, also known as too many cooks in the kitchen, and the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. Or maybe the project management team can't articulate the ROI or return on investment in terms that the finance organization can understand. You go in there and you pitch this new idea. Maybe it's a new app, maybe it's a new platform. Hey, this app is going to be great. It's going to do big things. It's going to be revolutionary. Finance guy is going to ask you, well, how much is it going to cost and how much is it going to make us? Well, I don't know. And there's always the fact that change management challenges always exist, and many times they stand in the way of productivity improvements. And this last one's actually pretty interesting. The perceived difference between the OEM, and in this case the OEM being the developer, between their digital promises and what they can actually deliver, which leads the question, it begs the question, do service providers even know what you want? Okay, I want to get back to the original question. I want to get back to the question of, hey, why do you say we're not progressive when it comes to technology? Well, let me give you a real life example using the audience in this room. What do you guys do when you have an international trip? Well, you call us on the telephone. And while you're talking to us on the phone, you give us the details about your trip. Mind you, you are reading the details from a scheduling software that you have in your flight department, and you're reading it to us so we can implement it and hand jam it manually into ours. And then once we do that, we run a flight plan for you, and it prints itself in 12-point Courier new font. 64 monospace spaces across. Not a single more, not a single less. And then we file that flight plan using an antiquated ground-based network that resembles a telex machine. We then fax you a copy of that flight plan. And then when you fire up the aircraft, you uplink that flight plan over a VHF radio tower capable of a blazing 2400 baud. And my absolute favorite part is that you take that paper that we faxed you, write all over it in pen or pencil, and then save it for legal record-keeping requirements. But seriously, not all is lost. We are getting better as an industry. We are getting much better. There are a number of progressive trends beginning to influence our industry. We're starting to see the adoption of blockchain. We're starting to see true widespread use of drones. We're doing a lot more widespread training and familiarization using augmented reality and virtual reality. In fact, there are a number of providers here that in the breakout sessions you can strap on the goggles yourself and take tours or learn how to fly an approach and do a number of things. And of course, we're also moving into robotics and advanced artificial intelligence, machine learning. These advancements will start to shape the future of our industry as a whole. You know, we recently conducted a survey of what our customers actually want when it comes to technology. And the results were all similar. The top 3 responses. Number 1, you want us to handle your data responsibly. You're not afraid of letting us have your data. You just want to know it's protected when it's in our possession. For the most part, you like the benefits that data aggregation can provide. When we have powerful data, we can power powerful tools. And that in turn makes your lives easier and your flights go smoother. All you're asking is for us, the developers and service providers, to handle your data responsibly. You also told us that you want tools that smartly automate manual processes. We should remove the margin of error of human interaction, and we should automate what is smart to be automatable. That's not everything, but that's a number of menial tasks that should be handled by a machine. And you also told us you wanted self-service applications. Now, don't go crazy, because self-service does not necessarily mean that we're asking you to do the work yourselves. We're not saying, hey, don't call us anymore because we've given you this tool. We're not saying that in the least. All we're saying is that there's a growing sector of people who want more powerful tools at their fingertips to have greater understanding and better situational awareness with their trips. And if you still don't like that idea, well, just imagine your service provider having better tools and self-service applications. Can you imagine how much better your trips, your flights will be if your service provider is adequately prepared to handle you and that they have the tools they need to provide a stellar level of service? You know, when Duke asked me to deliver this introduction, I was wondering what I should concentrate on. I initially thought it would be a dog and pony show where I would get on stage and show you a high-impact video or review some of the more progressive and innovative technologies in the aviation industry. I was going to show you high-definition mapping and global synthetic vision and some of the more progressive apps that have been created by other providers in this room. But then I stopped to think about it, and I realized the two reasons that I'm on this stage today. First and foremost, Duke, the moderator for the next session, thought it would be funny looking if there were only two people sitting on the dais. But more importantly, it's to deliver this call of action to the leadership that is in this room. First and foremost, the service providers in this room work for you. You are our customers, you are our clients, and your opinion matters. We exist to deliver solutions and to serve this community. And in doing so, we ask you to download and test our applications. Put them through the ringer. Try to break them. Try to beat them up. Pressure test them. Use them. Tell us what works. Tell us what doesn't. Allow us to get better. But with that, I'm also asking you to give us an honest try. An honest try is not downloading our applications collectively, 60 seconds later, deleting them. All we are asking for is open and honest and constructive feedback, whether positive or negative. Now remember, because of point one, we work for you. So you have to tell us what you want, and you have to hold us accountable. You have to push us to deliver services and products that force change and inspire innovation. Because without that, we do not move forward, and you end up using the same old tools that have no ambition or energy left in them. And I'm sorry, but you have to police us collectively. You have to police us to protect your data and use it responsibly. You know, you might not have all of the ability in the world when you sign on with one of these mega providers and you read their EULA agreements and you are agreeing to just about everything because you want to use the service. This industry is small and niche, and you have a voice and you have power. And you have service providers who will listen. You have service providers who will respect your data. And in my final request, my final call to action, please don't be afraid of disruptive innovation. I know we work in aviation, and the word disruptive is counterintuitive to everything that we've learned and everything that we know. But when it comes to technology, disruption is key. We need to shake loose the foundation of everything that's holding us back and allow innovators to innovate, because that's the only way forward. Our future, and not ours as a service provider or yours as a flight department, but our collective future, our industry's future, depends on it. Oh, and by the way, hey Siri, I need a flight plan for 0930 tomorrow in November 220 Echo Victor from Miami to Sao Paulo.
It looks like it will take you 7 hours, 51 minutes, and you'll burn 25,898 pounds of fuel. Want to know more?